The Taliban, they have a longer timeline. They've been fighting us for 20 years successfully. And if, they do the secure, they broker a peace deal, they're not going to forget who fought against them. And over time, they're going to know, and they're going to start running down these people. So it may not happen all at once, but these people are still going to be in danger for the next few years. It's a legitimate threat, and they need to get out of the country until things truly settle down.
I worked with Monir, the interpreter in question, in 2009 and 2010, and really he was instrumental, in everything that we did. We were in a program where we actually lived in a village, and we were working with the local population every day as part of our security. And it meant building bridges with the locals. Monir was like the key piece of that bridge for me every day, like 8 hours plus a day, be talking to people. We trusted him. He was out with us when you're a gunfight. He's on the truck with you, going out there. This is something that's missing from all the technology solutions, everything that we had in Afghanistan. These people are that point of continuity. And so absolutely instrumental. And this was somebody who was, a trusted advisor for me, and was tied into decision making every single day. So I've been working to get him out in one way or another, really since 2013. I mean, I probably wrote him a letter of recommendation in 2010 when I looked through the records, but he has not been successful with several SIV packets. Basically what you find over time is that there's a bunch of both bureaucratic red tape in a deeply flawed system that's well intended, but isn't executed on very well.
Guys like us, special operators, we're going after the baddest of the bad. And very similar to how a cop will go undercover and make contact with drug dealers in order to create a bust, we have our interpreters call bad guys often. And so if they pop up in a database where their cell number is cross-referenced with a bad guy, they can get flagged in the system as well. And we think there's some speculation about that, in which the guys who are actually putting their lives on the line, putting skin in the game, making the dangerous calls, are now being flagged as terrorists because they were doing the work for us to secure those terrorists.
In my case, nobody's really asked me a question about whether Monir is somebody that I would trust over and over again, which I have, with my life. Griff has done the same thing, and we don't really count into the process at all whatsoever. Instead, it's something that's really sat with the State Department, and really there's just been a general lack of leadership. I mean, there's been a clear lack of leadership for doing the right thing to take care of these people. What it comes down to right now is trying to fix the program. That's not going to happen. What we need to do is get these people out, figure out the paperwork later. And part of the reason that we took the move to have our GoFundMe was because of a lack of clear communication for what the next steps were, and not knowing how long, commercial air transportation would be a viable way to go.
So what we have done so far, we have identified a group of SIV applicants who are at risk, and we will be prepared to transport them along with their families to third locations while they await their SIV processing.
There's been a rumor of about 9,000, between 2,500 and 9,000 interpreters that are in process right now that could have access to a third country, but it's not clear who's actually on that list. None of the interpreters know, or at least Monir doesn't know, and so that doesn't help them plan. And for us, when you feel like you have some responsibility to help the other person, and you've got the connection with them, somebody that used to work with you in such a serious environment, that's not good enough. I feel like we've got to come up with a plan B. Griff feels like we've got to come up with a plan B, and that's what we've actually taken action.
All of these interpreters, wherever you work, they all have smartphones and cell phones, and they're watching what's going on. And then if you have somebody who's working in a dangerous area, say for with Peru or Colombia and counter drug, and they're working for the US, and working in these counter drug operations are exceptionally dangerous to them and their families, if they see what happens to the Afghans and they're not going to be able to get processed to America, how much are they going to trust the US representatives in these nations and go, you know what, I'll just go work for the Chinese or the Russians, and I'll take everything that I learned from you and go put it to use over there. This is a major, major, major national security issue, and we're going to be kneecapping our foreign policy for the next 20 years if we don't come through on this simple promise that's within our reach.
Our message to those women and men is clear. There is a home for you in the United States if you so choose, and we will stand with you just as you stood with us.
I think what we're seeing is a lot of speeches regard to the issue, and very rare does speeches turn into great plans, and it's very rare that great plans turn into well-executed operations. And if we're looking at past performance as indicator of future performance, I think the United States government is going to bumble this hard. And I think it's going to be a very challenging future over the next 6 months for Afghans. And I believe that the government is just going to trust the American people are going to forget, and they're just going to move on to the next major thing.
If this isn't who we are, this is who we want to be, is the country that will follow through on this. And so this is our opportunity. It's in front of us on a silver platter. Like, just do the right thing here.